Some of my favorite people, Suzanne Hillman and David, have done a tremendous job. They actually started before I got to Prince George's County. The story I like to tell, about the Hillmans, now that you have this hotel, people think this is it. But their commitment to Prince George's County and making it better is not just in bricks and mortars. It was actually in the thing that I wanted to do, and the reason I ran for office is I wanted to change people's lives. Well, they've done it. They've not only provided places for individuals to live, but they've also given them a chance at life, given them their start, given them a chance at health care. Those are the things that go into building a better community. And that's what it was about in the very beginning anyway of our administration, and they've done it. To see Justin Ross, who was in the legislature when we passed many of the things that help us build Prince George's County, and to see my good friend Ken Ullman, who I not only work with as a county executive, but his work here. And then to see the representation from Bizzuto to the university, and Dr. Lowe, whose administration started with mine, and he had the mindset to understand that the university is not just the buildings across the street. It is being a good partner in building an environment. And so we've been lucky over these, and blessed, quite honestly, over these last 8 years to have some great people. Now, one of the things that I've, that has almost bothered me, but not a lot, is, a lot of those really smart people I hired happen to be from the University of Maryland, David Iannucci. So we're not only turning out great students, but we're turning out great individuals like David Iannucci, Brad Fromm, and I could go down the list, and others who have come into the administration and have helped change it. With that, Mr. Coleman, who went to Howard University.
Well, I've met a really very special person at Howard University, but this is your time. Well, County Executive Baker, over the last 8 years, looking back on your tenure, what are you most proud of in terms of Prince George's County's economic growth and success?
The thing that I'm most proud of, and I say this on any question, it's really the perception of the county. That's the hardest thing to change, whether you're talking about attracting businesses here or getting people to move to the county or invest in the county or any of those things. The perception was really, really bad. And it's hard to think about that now, almost, 8 years later. But there weren't many people who were bullish on Prince George's County in 2010, right, David? Iannucci can tell you this. Changing that perception. And the reason that I know it's changed is not simply coming to conferences here or looking at the buildings that have gone up and the development that happens around the county. It's the little things. I was telling my daughters this because they're the biggest critics I have, so cut this part out. But I was telling my daughters the other day that I know we've made a difference in the county, and they said, well, how do you know that, Daddy? I said, well, I was coming across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. I was actually trying to run, and I was running very slow because the guy walking had a conversation with me. You'll get that later. And he turned and he said, oh, Mr. Baker. And I said, oh, God. I said, yes. He said, I want to thank you for what you've done in the county. And I said, thank you. And then I thought about it as I was coming across the bridge, and you see National Harbor, MGM, and the lights, and it was almost, the sun was going down, and you think how different this place looks than it did. But the fact that he got it, he felt different about the county than he did 8 years ago, is a testament of how far we've come, which means they're willing to take chances. If you think it's better, you're willing to invest and take chances.
County Executive Baker, the first year in office, we had over $70 million budget deficit. Unemployment was at an all-time high.
I had hair.
You had beautiful hair.
It was black.
It was. And with all of the challenges that the economy that we were having, both in the county and on the national level, you were able to create this $50 million economic development incentive fund. And has it met your objectives? And what do you think of the program's success?
You know, it has gone beyond our wildest dream, at least mine. And, you know, there were many people who were responsible, certainly David Iannucci, Brad Seaman, Mike Errico, and others, Tom Himmler, where we wanted to, and it, once again, went through perception. What I asked David and his colleagues was, how do I get people to look at me? And by me, I meant the county. How do I get businesses who aren't interested right now to look at the county? Because if they looked at us, they would say, wow, there's a lot of opportunity there. So I wanted what was a wow factor. And we knew that in Baltimore County, they had an incentive fund. David had worked on that. And Baltimore County was doing some really good stuff around economic development, which is why we stole David back. And they came up with this idea, and I think the first iteration was about $20 million. You know, what if we go in, and then mind you, Jim is right, the market had turned down, there was a $75 million budget deficit, FBI was investigating, I mean, everything. Wall Street was nervous. It was all these things that were saying, you know, you need to hold on to every dollar you can get. But they first came up with $20 million. And so I asked, you know, Mr. Iannucci, I said, well, what do you think of that? He said, oh, that would be good. And then they said $50 million. He said, wow. I said, that's it. I wasn't sure that people would actually borrow the money or we'd lend the money to them. I wasn't sure if people would actually take advantage of the program. And to be honest with you, I really didn't care. What I wanted was those folks out there in the Washington region and the nation to start looking at the opportunities that were in the county. Because I figured if I got them to look at the opportunities around the metro stations, our proximity to the District of Columbia, whether they took advantage of the $50 million or not, they would invest in the county. I wanted their attention. The fact that it actually worked was like, whoa. I was like, David, this program is actually, there's a real program here and it works? And it has. It's turned us around. It's allowed us to lead the region in job growth for 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, Prince George's County. And to do it in diverse markets, not just in one type of market. So it's exceeded my expectations.
County Executive Baker, you rocked it, brought about $1 billion worth of private investment, 12,000 jobs as a result of what you were able to get done with the EDI.
So we had a council that took a chance.
Yes.
I mean, you can't, you know, Eric Olson's out there, he knows it. I mean, at that time, you know, going to the council and saying, hey, we're going to take your rainy day fund and we're going to take $50 million of it, that's scary. You know, when you were leading the state, you know, the nation in foreclosures, it's scary, and they came along. So it was a great partnership.
Yeah. County Executive Baker, a lot of people would say that you know how to accomplish what others are merely for. A lot of people worked on this hospital for 20 plus years. You got it done. What's your vision for Largo?
Oh God, I'm so excited about it. They're not going to call it downtown Largo anymore, Madam Chair. I think it's going to be downtown Prince George's. But just think about this. The hospital is anchoring a redevelopment in the center of Prince George's County, sandwiched between two metro stops, which will give us the ability in this county not only to provide a first-rate health care, but also offices, mixed-use development. That whole place will change. And because we're changing Largo, which now will have, in walking distance of the Wayne Keefe Curry Administration Building, where the county executive and the county council, surrounded by office buildings that are owned by the county, giving us a critical mass there will completely change the way the county is. If you think about what Rockville looks like now, if you think about Bethesda, it will not only rival those places, they will go beyond it. And the impact of downtown Prince George's will have is that it will redevelop Woodmore Town Center, which then will have an impact on Glen Arden, which will have an impact on the stadium where the Redskins play. You will now have a big downtown area in the county where you didn't have it before, and that's real economic development.
The next question is how important is the state's flagship campus here at University of Maryland? How important is it to the county's financial and economic future?
It's vitally important. I think for the first time, and the credit has to go to Dr. Lowe. It is a big difference from our relationship with the University of Maryland pre-Dr. Lowe and post once he came in. And the reason is he saw the university is not just the University of Maryland located in Prince George's County. He saw the university as part of the development and growth of the county, which means from the Purple Line to healthcare to economic development, to our vision of what the Arts District is really like, Peter Shapiro. All of these things he bought into and came. So it's critical. It's critical. It's the flagship. We're proud to have it here in Prince George's County, but we're more proud to have it as part of our community and our education and everything else.
8 years ago, we were afraid of the FBI. We didn't want them out here. Today, you're mad that they're not coming out. Do you think we still have a chance of bringing these 11,000 jobs out here before you leave office?
The way he asked that question, I was a little nervous. I want the FBI headquarters here. Let me be clear. I do. I mean, I think that, I was mad that, the incoming Trump administration, unilaterally just killed the deal. It had nothing to do with whether, in fact, the FBI needs the building and whether, in fact, Prince George's County is competitive. I believe it's coming. There's just no way you can keep the men and women who protect us in the office building downtown. So I believe that they have to move at some point. And I think we still have the best sites and the best case for the FBI to come here. And as I said to the incoming county executive, and I'd say in this room, I want to be a part of continuing that dialogue to get them to come, because I think it's a good story for Prince George's to have. Because if you do think about it, they were the first people to greet me as I won the election. They said hi, and we will be in your administration talking to folks. I said, thank you very much. So to have us have that headquarters here, I think symbolically for the county would just be amazing. As once again, David Iannucci says, you think about the Pentagon and what it's done to Northern Virginia, it could have the same impact here. And I think it's going to happen.
Okay. County Executive Baker, I've been told we've got about 30 more minutes to go. Of all the major projects, listen to this list you all. The MGM, 3,600 jobs. The brand new hospital, 2,000 jobs, another 10,000 that will be coming to Largo. This brand new hotel that David Hillman built.
Isn't this beautiful?
Kaiser Permanente, all these major projects, which ones do you feel that were the easiest and the ones that were most difficult for you to bring to the county?
That's a good question. I think the most difficult one, I don't know if David would agree, I think Whole Foods. And the reason I say it was the first one that we actually worked on. It was the first major project that we as an administration took on. And it was at a time when almost everyone we talked to in the business community, and I'll mention David Iannucci a lot in this conversation, and it's on purpose. Because in those days, we were like, the gang of two. And we were going around begging people just to meet with us from the business community. And that was the first one that we really, David, Brad Frum, everybody else, we struggled to how do you put it together and how do we get some, get it going. So I think that development for us was, because it was the first one, and it was in the hardest time. I think after that, probably the next most difficult one, I know everybody thinks it's the hospital. Everyone's like, oh, the hospital had to be the hardest one because they tried for so long. But the difference with the hospital deal was, I can admit this now because, I'm going out of office. So during the campaign, when I was running for the third time, trying to win this job as county executive, I would go around in these debates talking about how we were going to build this hospital. I said, you know what? It makes no sense. Within the first year of a Baker administration, we're going to have a hospital deal. And so I guess they got tired of, one of the people that was running got tired of me saying that. And they said, well, after 16 years, people trying, what makes you think you can have a hospital deal in the first year of your administration? And then I won. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to do that. That lady would be running against me in about 4 years. And so as soon as I won the primary, I went to Brad Seaman and I said, Brad Seaman, I have now won the primary. Start working on a hospital deal. And we actually had, and Eric knows this, we had within the first 6 months of the, because Eric was the vice chair, the first 6 months of the administration, we signed a deal for the hospital. So that was a commitment of the county council and the county executive's office was in sync. Once we got in sync, it was easy to get Annapolis in sync and get Governor O'Malley through. But probably the other one that was most difficult was MGM, because everybody said MGM was not going to happen. Everybody. I mean, there was not a person that when we went to Annapolis, they were like against it. It was MGM was the first time, at least since I've been in Maryland, and including the 8 years I served in the legislature, where if you know anything about Annapolis and the only thing you're required to do in Annapolis is vote on a budget. And if you don't vote on a budget, you have to come back. It's the first time I've seen 2 special sessions were called because of one project. And we held our ground and we got that deal done. But it also meant there were a lot of people in Annapolis who were probably glad that I won't be going there in January.
County Executive Baker, we're going to wrap it up with this last question. I know a lot of members of our audience would want to hear what you're going to say on this one. And what advice would you give our next incoming county executive to help them to keep the momentum moving forward on this incredible economy that you've created?
Well, just that. I mean, the only advice I'd give to the next county executive, and who's going to do a wonderful job. I mean, she's been right there as a partner, making sure that not only our county is safe, but also we're creating jobs, is that there's a lot more to do. We've done a lot. You ride around this county and you see it, but everyone in its audience knows this is the hottest market in the Washington area. And so there's a lot more to do. And I would say to her, just keep your foot on the pedal. Just keep going, looking at these places. And I think she will. And I think the council will too. And we'll do well.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's give County Executive Baker a round of applause. Thank you, sir, for your leadership of this incredible county.